We would like to welcome everyone out this evening, or I guess we're still in afternoon at this point, this afternoon for our work session. We appreciate each of you for your attendance, whether it's virtually or in person, and we are grateful that you care about the students of Uintah School District. And to open the meeting this evening, we will have Mindy Merrill offer a reverence.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are very grateful for the chance we have to meet together for this time of year and for the chance we have to remember the birth of thy Son. So we're very grateful for the board members and for the countless hours they've put into working on the behalf of the school district and the students we ask that thou would bless them, that as they make decisions that they can do the things that are in the best interest of our students, and that we can have a good working relationship and enjoy each other's company and the chance we have to influence education. Give thanks to thee for all that we have, and do this in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Mindy. And with that, Superintendent, we'll turn the time over to you.
Okay, thank you, President. I'd like to welcome everybody here, and just to remind people that if you have input, you can utilize the link that there's a QR code on the agenda. We'd love to hear from you. That's one way to provide input, and then of course during our business meeting you'll be able to sign up there as well. We sure love to hear from you. Looks like we're gonna start right out of the gate here. I'd like Jason to introduce his new secretary. So Jason, go ahead.
Just like to introduce Shauna Mume to the board. She's taken the position of the Business Administrator Secretary and our Benefits Specialist. She's going to be transitioning into taking our notes as well. So if she pipes up during a board meeting, don't be alarmed. She's just trying to get the votes correct. So just like to welcome her. Thanks, Shauna.
Yeah, welcome, Shauna.
Welcome.
Yep. Thanks, Jason. Just like to acknowledge Sarah and Kurt. This will be their final board meeting and work session with the board. We'll do something a little special for them at the end of the meeting here tonight, but sure appreciate them. Looks like we're going to start with a section on leadership governance. We've been working through the book Coming to Order, and I just want to make a clarification, or I guess emphasize that this book is it's provided by the Uintah School Board Association, and so the collective wisdom that goes into this is pretty high. They're affiliated with the NSBA, the National School Board Association. So much of what we've been studying comes from the National School Board Association, and it's been vetted by people here in Utah. So it has a state-specific twist to it, which I think has been great. This is not something that was developed by our board or developed by our district locally. This is something that again, there's a lot of information in here, a lot of protocols and procedures and norms of how school boards should interact to do what's best for our public and for our kids. So anyway, I appreciate that we've had the chance and the opportunity to go through this. I think it helps ground us and it gives us kind of a guide, which I think is wonderful. What I'd like to do in conclusion, we've gone through it. If you turn to Appendix G, there is a section that reads, it's called Code of Ethics. Does anybody, I have a one-page handout here. If anybody does not have their book, does anybody need a handout?
I'll take one.
Can't lick your fingers these days, so it's kind of hard to get paper. You're good. Sarah's good. Scoot, do you need one of these, or do you have the book? You're good. Robin?
I've got it.
You're good. Jason, you have a copy? So what I'd like to do, let's go around and let's just read through these. Robin, let's start with you. Can you read number 1 and 2, since they're so short, and then we'll just go around the table this way. So go ahead, Robin.
Number 1, as a school board member, I will be a staunch advocate of free public education. And number 2, I will uphold and enforce all laws, state board rules and regulations, and court orders pertaining to schools. Desired changes should be brought about only through legal and ethical procedures.
Okay, thank you. Let's stop for just a second. As we're going through these, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to kind of highlight or put an asterisk or something next to the 1 or 2 that really resonate the most with you. Okay, the ones that you think, this is really important. I think they're all important, but like your top ones, okay? Scoot, do you want to read number 3 for us?
I will make decisions in terms of educational welfare of children and will strive for public schools which can meet the individual needs of all children regardless of their ability, race, sex, creed, or social standing.
Great. Sarah, 4.
I will join with my fellow members on the board, the staff, the community, and the students in continuing study of the nature, value, and direction of contemporary education in our society in order to facilitate needed changes in our schools.
Okay. Dave? Yep.
I will work unremittingly to help the people of my community understand the importance of public education and the need to support it.
President?
I'll need to pass,
Oh,
Superintendent.
yeah, you don't have your, okay. 6, I will strive to ensure that people are accurately informed about our schools, and I will try to interpret to the staff the aspirations of the community for its schools. Jason?
I will recognize that my responsibility is not to run the schools, but together with my fellow board members to see that they are well run.
We'll go back to you, Robin.
8, I will confine my board action to policy-making, planning, and appraisal, and I will help to frame policies and plans only after the board has consulted those who will be affected by them.
Hey, Scoot?
I will arrive at conclusions only after discussing all aspects of the issues at hand with my fellow board members assembled in meetings.
I will recognize that authority rests with the whole board assembled in legally authorized meetings and will make no personal promises nor take any private action which may compromise the board.
I will refuse to surrender my independent judgment to special interests or partisan political groups, or to use a school for personal gain or for the gain of friends.
I will hold confidential all matters pertaining to the schools which, if disclosed, would needlessly injure individuals or the schools.
Number 13, I will vote to appoint upon proper recommendation by the appropriate administrative officer the best trained, technical, and professional personnel available.
14, I will support and protect school personnel in proper performance of their duties.
I will refer all complaints to the chief administrative officer and will act on such complaints at legally authorized meetings only after failure of an administrative solution.
Okay, thank you. Take just a minute now and maybe think about which of those resonated the most with you, and then we'll just kind of popcorn out in a little conversation of what your thoughts are. When you're ready, go for it.
I'll lead out, Superintendent. The one that stands out to me, I'll be an advocate for public education. We have a responsibility to recognize that we're representing 7,000 students. And with that, we need to leave our personal opinions to the side, and we need to look at the needs of 7,000 students that are all part of public education.
Okay, thank you.
I just add staunch advocate, and staunch means loyal, committed, just, you know, a champion for public education. And since I'm speaking, I've read this so many times, but 11, I will refuse to surrender my independent judgment to special interest groups. I think that's, I mean, each one of us comes from a different background, different experiences, and I think that only makes us stronger. So, but we do have to think independently and definitely for what's best for kids. I've learned that over the last 2 years for sure.
Okay, thank you. And that's a good point. You know, Robin brings up that this is a cross-section of our community. You've been voted to be board members by your constituents to represent the districts where you reside, and so you guys are you're here to you know, to represent the public, and so it's important that, again, your own, you know, your own individual feelings, though, that's they've elected you because they trust you. You're a trustee, right? I trust this person that they're going to be thoughtful and mindful and do what's right for kids. So thanks, Robin. Yep.
I guess mine would be number 7. I will recognize the responsibility to not run the schools, but with my fellow board members, see that they are well run.
That's a good statement, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that as I read that, I thought, well, that's in one phrase, that's kind of the difference in roles between the administration and the school board. You're here to make sure, to ensure that we're doing our jobs well and holding ourselves accountable, you know, for doing that, for helping kids.
I'll say 6, I'll strive to ensure that people are accurately informed about our schools, and we'll try to interpret to the staff the aspirations of the community for its schools. That's one of the reasons why I have taken time to go and visit the schools, is to kind of get a feel from a parent view, how the schools are running, just from my own perspective. And I feel like that was really valuable. And then being able to talk about what the aspirations for the community are is a huge part. And anyway, I feel like I'm kind of being cut short on that, but hopefully someone will fulfill that role, or each of you will fulfill that role as you serve on the board.
Okay, thanks, Sarah.
I'll take to number 14. I will support and protect school personnel in proper performance of their duties. And I feel like that they have, I don't know how you put it. People are always making comments about our school, about our teachers, about our students, about everything that's going on. And I think that we need to stand up for them and protect and just back them with whatever they've got.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. Jason, do you have any comments? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, a lot of, Scoot actually had one that I was talking about, or thinking about, but 9, from my perspective, from the administrative side, was just a good reminder. I will arrive at conclusions only after discussing all aspects of the issue at hand with my fellow board members assembled in meeting. So it's important for us, as you guys are discussing, that we're listening and hearing what you guys have to say and the conclusions that you guys reach as well, so that we can make sure that those are carried out and taken care of and communicated down as well. So that was one that stood out to me from my perspective.
Jason, I think one component I look at with that particular question is assembled in meetings. You know, I think that's an important component that, you know, outside of a meeting, we're an individual, and it's only when we come together in a formal meeting that we address and take care of those things.
President Case, do you have anything else you want to comment on before we conclude this activity?
No,
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything else with the book study. I will say that, you know, one of the questions, and we'll talk about this briefly during the calendar section, the very last agenda item we have tonight. I would suggest that we have some sort of a work session or retreat in January when we get our new board members here and begin a conversation about what do we want to do as far as the work of learning with the board moving forward. Is there another book study we want to do, or do we want to jump into more of a leadership governance framework where we can work together as a board to come up with some, really to apply this information, to come up with a framework based on what we've learned through this book study. So I would suggest that, you know, that be thinking about that, and that's something we can discuss at a later time, okay? Okay, we'll jump into policy, the section 4 of the agenda. President, do you want me to lead us through that?
If you'll lead out in that, Superintendent.
You bet. So let's start with Julie Wild, if she'll come up to lead us in just a brief conversation here about the extracurricular activity and travel policy.
I know you're all thinking, didn't we just do this? Yes, we did. But here's what happened. Well, the intent of this policy when I brought it to you last month was just to align the K-5 and then 6-12 with our elementary and our secondary configuration in the schools. And as we did that, we did a strikeout of the line in here, and if you're looking at it, we struck out of the same gender of the members of the team for the chaperones. And we did that because we thought it was redundant, because later on it says, if both boys and girls are on the team, then there needs to be a chaperone of both genders. What we forgot to consider was the fact that we have some teams, mostly all-girl teams, that have only male coaches. And so by striking that line, we made it possible for that team to travel without requiring them to have a female adult traveling with them, for everybody's protection and for girls if they need to approach a female for some kind of assistance or help. The committee came together and we discussed whether it was necessary or not, and we ended up deciding yes, it's necessary to make sure that we have a female traveling with our girls' teams. If it's a co-ed, one of each traveling with the teams. So we reworded it, and hopefully it all makes sense. We're requiring at least one supervisor for every 10 students, K through 5, and at least one supervisor for every 15 students, 6 through 12. And we also added this throughout our discussion, with a minimum of 2 supervisors. We felt it was important to protect the coaches. Even if you're only taking 7 boys to a golf tournament, let's say, we felt like it was important to have 2 adults traveling, just to be safe, protect everyone. And then at least one supervisor from both the same gender of the students traveling when both boys and girls are on a bus that must have at least one supervisor of each gender. So that's why we had to bring that back to you. I don't know, Mr. Shivers, you were on that committee with me. Is there anything I'm missing that we discussed?
Thanks, Julie. I think you've done a great job. If any of the board members have any questions, the coach told us that they felt like a lot of times that they could get a parent to volunteer or something to go, but as a committee and as we talked about that, we felt like it was really important to change this. So I'll try to help Julie. She knows way more about it than me, but if any board members have any questions, I'll try to help.
Any questions? Okay, we'd like to run this through first and second reading if possible, so that's up to you guys in the meeting.
Okay.
Are any board members opposed to running this with first and second reading? I think where it's a policy we've went over in detail and we're only making one change. Is anyone not comfortable with doing it that way? It appears that we're comfortable with that, Julie.
So will that have to be included in the motion, or will it just be run as first and second reading?
It'll just be run as first and second, but yes, it would be included in the motion. Yeah.
But will have to be specifically mentioned in the more.
Yeah, in the motion, just move on first and second reading. Yep. Yep, good question.
Is it in the consent calendar then?
Can you speak in your mic, Robin?
I just said it's on the consent calendar, so how do we do that?
That's right.
I was
Yeah.
going to say where it's in the consent calendar, it's written that way, so
It's
we're
already,
covered.
yeah, we're covered because it's written that way. Yeah, good point. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, any other questions on the activity travel policy? All right, we'll jump to Rick Johnson, if he'll come up to visit with us about policy 005.0200, which is hiring, just our hiring policy. This is on second reading.
Yeah, this is our second reading for this one. Since our last meeting, we haven't had any suggested changes. You'll notice, though, the changes that we updated after that last meeting in 9.4. We're striking out the section that references 2006 and 7 school year, and it's I apologize, the memo says upon discover, but the actual policy does have it correct and says upon discovery of something related to nepotism, that we make that transfer at that time. The next change was in 10.1.2, or 10.12, sorry. It talks about we have the ability to offer jobs out at career fairs and so forth, but we don't have the ability to fill a vacancy when there's an unanticipated or emergency need. And so this allows us to be able to do that. And then the board has the authority to approve or deny that at the next board meeting. And that's also the same change that is in section 1120.20. So, and then at the very last page of that, underneath 12.1, should persons be recommended by the interview committee, the superintendent and the superintendent be rejected by the board majority. And so we're adding majority in there. So to clarify that, so. Any questions on that policy? That's second reading today as well.
Board members, do any of you have any questions about that? It looks like we're good with that, Jason. Thank you.
Oh, you did it again.
Rick?
Man.
Hey, that's 3 out of 4.
At least he's consistent.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on then to the next policy, which is 005.0250, criminal background checks
Yep.
and reporting requirements for employees and volunteers, and this is on second reading as well.
Yeah, this is second reading as well, and this one goes to clarify a little bit about volunteers, and it doesn't include people like our SROs or our student teachers, as they have background checks done at their local or through their entities. And so they would meet the safety agreement and requirement through that background check. Then we've also updated, instead of everything saying Utah State Office of Education, we've just updated it to reference the Board of Education. Underneath section 5.2 is the largest adjustment in there. And it just adds felony or misdemeanor convictions to match the suggested policy by USBA and the updated legislation that came out. So
with that change, that brings us in line with the state policy?
yeah, it's in line with the code. Yeah. Any questions on that policy?
Board members, are there any questions?
It's super fun to read if you really want to spend the time.
I'm sure it is.
I think this is the third time Dave's gone through it with me, because every year it updates. So after the next legislative session, we'll have another update.
That's what I wanted to say when Kurt said, ask if it followed policy. For a month or two it doesn't. Then
I
they'll change
think
the
it's our
policy.
third time this year alone changing it, so,
Well, Rick, we appreciate your help.
thanks.
It doesn't appear we have any further questions.
Okay, I'd like to thank our directors for their preparation with the policies. Being that we're in a work session, I've got some more food for thought for the board, something to think about. We don't need to make any decisions today, but your involvement as a board on committees like our policy committee, facilities committee, finance committee, those are very important functions of a school board. That's the meat and potatoes, so to speak. Right now, the way we are structured, we have our directors that are chairing those committees, and I don't know the best way to say this, but there's another way to do it. And the other way to do it is to have board members assigned by the board president to chair those committees. Now, please don't let this scare you, because it's not really a lot of extra work. Our directors are still going to do the preparation and all of that, but the board members then would conduct those meetings, and the board member that's assigned to be the chair would have a little more responsibility about providing some direction for those committees. And I've seen that model. I've interacted with that model. I love it, because I think that's the essence of what a board should do, is engage in those functions. Now, I'm not asking you to become administrators by any means here. This is the work of a board, is to have oversight and to really have, I guess, just a little greater impact on particularly the policy work, because it's so important. But even finance, these are things that I think that, so this is food for thought. I want you to be thinking about it. I think this is a conversation we'll come back to in January and further our conversation about this, because it would be a paradigm shift. I've already talked to our directors about it and got them thinking. No decisions are made at this point. If this board wishes for us to continue doing it as we have been, I'm absolutely fine with that. But I certainly want to extend the idea that there may be a different way of conducting our committees. And with that, does anyone have any questions for me about what that might look like?
So it would just be the facilitator?
So the director then would sit at the right hand, so to speak, of the committee chairman, and would facilitate and would help in any way. Just like President Case turns this work session meeting over to me, you can do the same thing with the director. But what it does is it gives, there's just a little more authority there by the chairman of that committee in steering and in kind of the big picture ideas of where we need to go. And it's the interface between that committee chair and the board that's important. That's the important piece. That's a great question.
I know Dave's mentioned before, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, he's enjoyed working on the different committees, and I have too. I think everybody, not speaking for everybody, but just, because you kind of have to get in, you get a lot more insight as the process and just the information, and it's been a great thing, so I'm open. Some thought.
Thought, Superintendent. No, I definitely can't do what Rick or Julie do, and I serve with them on committees. But you're talking about, it would require the board members, this is a question, I guess, it would require the board members to be involved with their committees and to help set that up and keep things running. Like I say, I definitely can't do the part that them two's been doing, but it would force me to be actively involved in that committee. And if that's what you're talking about, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it's really important, because some of this stuff is hard to understand until you set through them discussions. And then when you have fellow board members that have questions about that, you can explain the process and the things that happened to arrive at that point, and it makes it better, a better board understanding, I feel like.
Yes, that's exactly how I have seen it in the past, is it provides the board members with a little higher level of engagement. And a lot of those committees, we may want 2 board members. We can have 2 because 2 is not a quorum. So some of those committees, we can have conversation. We want 1 member on or 2 members, and it does provide a higher degree of engagement. I don't think the workload is a lot more. I think there might be a little more work in just being prepared for those meetings, but you can utilize the directors as much as you would like. They will, I mean, if it's your prerogative to say, I'm going to turn the time over to you and you take it, you can take that approach. And I've seen it both ways, where the board committee member has actually conducted the meeting, and I've seen it where they've turned it over to a director to take care of most of that business. And so it takes the pressure off, but either way, it provides you with a leadership opportunity. Even though you may not be the board president or the vice president, you can still engage in some effective leadership as a board a board member being one of those committee chairs.
There we go.
Is that someone's hearing aid?
Any other comments or questions? I see some wheels turning, but I think that's good. That was my intention, is to get the wheels turning tonight. Okay, President, with that, we will move into item 5. So these would be items discussion items requiring future board action. Minutes and purchases over $50,000. Let's start with the minutes. Jason, do you want to take that one?
Sure. We presented the minutes to you for the November work session and the November board business meeting. They were provided at least a few weeks ago, just after the last board meeting. Do you have any updates or anything that you'd like to see changed on these minutes? We did make a couple of adjustments as well from the first set to the last, just a couple of wording changes in those.
Board members, do you have any questions or concerns about any of the minutes? I think we're good there, Jason.
Okay.
I just want to say I appreciate the input that we receive each month from some of you. It's really helpful. I think it helps clarify and keep our minutes. It helps them to be a better reflection of what actually happens in the meeting. So thank you. I know that's time consuming, but sure appreciate it.
Yeah.
And with that, Superintendent, we'll remind anyone that wants to hear the minutes word for word, there's a recording of those minutes. So all of that is available.
You bet. Thank you. Okay, we'll turn the time back over to Jason again for purchases over $50,000.
All right, the only purchase that we haven't already discussed that's over $50,000, at least up to this point, as of December 3rd, is a child nutrition purchase. We do these quite often throughout the year. As you know, they have to continue to order food, and it's a repetitive process. And so, yeah, that's the only purchase this go around, and we'll continue to see these types of purchases throughout the year. But certainly wanted to bring this purchase out. Do you have any questions on this purchase?
No questions, just one comment, Jason. And that is that all of those purchases are part of our budget that has already been approved. So it's important that everyone realizes those aren't above and beyond what our budget is. Those are just purchases that are made that are over $50,000, but each one of those purchases are included in our budget.
That's correct. If there ever was a purchase that was going to be outside of our original budget, it would be called out and and communicated to you.
Any questions?
Okay, so just this vendor, they're obviously,
Basin Wholesale.
Local?
West, yeah, it's one of our vendors that we, at the beginning of the year, go through and make sure that they can complete with all the food purchases, and we use them and a handful of others throughout the year.
Basin Wholesale is one of those companies that also supplies for our grocery stores in our area.
Okay, if there's no other questions, President, we can jump into informational items.
Sure.
All right, we'll start back with Jason again.
Yeah, 3 in a row. Sorry, guys. I just wanted to present this as an informational item. It is just, we're knocking on the door of our next budget for the FY22 calendar year, school year. And I wanted to bring this in as a conversation starter. This is the beginning. So what I presented to you is a calendar, essentially just a roadmap of the budget process, so that you guys are aware of everything that's going on. And you can at any time refer to this calendar and say, okay, where are we at with the budget process? Or where can the board be of assistance as we move through this? Because we're going to ask, obviously, this is a collaborative thing, and we're going to make sure that you guys are looped in, and that this is the beginning of that process. I'd just like to call out just a handful of dates just on the calendar that we may need some board assistance, and superintendent talked a little bit about the approach that we'd like to discuss, or things like that, but just a couple of dates, if you guys would just be able to look at those. January 28th and 29th, we have a review of all the needs assessments that our principals, administrators, and directors have requested. We always like to have at least one board member involved in that meeting, just so that you're able to see what's being requested. You guys can also, any of these things, if you'd like to be a part of it, you certainly can, just let me know. But I'm just gonna go through a couple of the dates. Then February 10th, board meeting. Those are some things that we have scheduled for that board meeting. Again, these things can change and we can adjust them, especially if you guys see fit. So in February, we're gonna touch on enrollment projections, school fees, March 10th. The second presentation of school fees will be brought to you. Capital outlay forecasts will be brought. April 14th, we're starting to get close. We'll bring any summary of budget changes or balances if necessary. Then the board would approve the capital outlay. We can move that off of that month if you guys would so choose. And then on the second page, now we're down to the final stretch, and it's always fun. So April 30th, we'll have a tentative budget. Then May 12th, we'll have our tentative budget meeting. And then May 26th would be the public hearing. And then down to the very last, June 16th, final budget adoption. And that would be the end of our course there. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of, just kind of get a little vision of where the budget's and the key dates, because we'd certainly love to have you guys involved in the budget as we move it forward. And that's all I have. Are there any questions or things that you'd like to say?
I don't see on here July trip to Bahamas. After all that.
Yes. Sorry, Robin, that didn't make
That's
the
not part
budget,
of
yeah.
that deal.
That was just my trip.
Oh, that was there.
That's also in February.
Oh, that's right.
Any question, board members? Thank you, Jason.
I'd just like to, thank Jason. I appreciate him becoming, I would say, trying to improve our systems and becoming systematic with his calendaring. I think that that's a real positive thing. you know, you can see it's quite a process that we go through to establish the budget. It takes a lot of time and energy and thought. I appreciate him sharing this with us in his attempt to be, you know, to increase the transparency that we have with the public. So thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll go on to the next item on the agenda. Belongs to me. I wanted to take a minute and just update the board on our board facilities committee meeting that we had last month. We had Sarah and Dave, myself and Jason, we got together and we looked at the scope of work for the BHI project for the new district office and transportation department. And then really went through a process of looking at and discussing the scope of work and then the final cost estimates that we have on each of those components. And Dave, do you want to comment at all on this? Do you want me just to take it?
It was a long, lengthy process. We went through each thing individually, and I think as a group we come to a consensus, and I'm excited about the facility.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Sarah was part of that process as well. Any thoughts, Sarah, that you want to share?
Just that we were able to discuss things at length and get a lot of good questions answered, and it was I think it was just really good to be able to meet with everybody together and really get an understanding of what we're doing going forward. So it felt good to have that opportunity and clarity.
Thank you. So in the end, the committee decided we were in consensus that the board we should just move forward with the scope of work as presented, and the board got to see a look at that last month. And so what I would say at this point is, if the board wants to go into any more details on this particular recommendation this month, then we would need to entertain a motion to go into executive session where those numbers can be shared. Otherwise, I don't see any need to really take any action at this point in time.
Board members, are there any questions from the data that we examined last month?
I have none.
It appears that everything's good there, Superintendent.
Okay, good, thank you. And if any of you have any questions, feel free to contact me. You can contact Jason or either Sarah or Dave if you have questions about that process, okay? Thank you. So next on the agenda, I want to share with you some information about our preschool facility options. If you'll go into board docs and take a look under section, on board docs, it's actually under section 4C, and you can click into that, and there's some content there for you that I've shared. And if you'll open up the Central Cove Preschool Facility Options document, I have put together 4 options, and this is very much a rough draft. I want you to know that, board. This is a draft. It's going to need to be vetted through a board facilities committee. We'll probably have to get together sometime in January and really start going through some of the details on this. But take it for what it's worth. It's a draft. It's a starting point. Option 1 has been already discussed. We talked about this last month. Option 1 would be to conduct a renovation. Now, these options aren't in order, by the way. They're not in order of my preference or anybody else's. They are what they are, okay? So the renovation, the estimated cost would be just under $7 million. And with this option, students would continue to attend the preschool at Central Cove while the renovation would occur during the summer months and then a section at a time beyond that during the school year. And I've listed a whole bunch of pros and cons. Now, I did get some input on these. I sent it to Tammy and I think Donnie. I don't know if I heard back from Donnie, but so I did get some input, but this is just a starting point. I would suggest that once our board facilities committee meets, we dig into these pros and cons deeply, and we start going through them and adding and hashing out whether they're really pros and cons and all of that, okay? So we can do a lot with this document. Option 2 would be the replacement or new construction, and we had a KMA come and present last month what that would cost. The price tag on that is $7.65 million. And with this option, a new building would be built adjacent to or next to the existing CEC building. And students would continue to attend at the current building until the new building is completed. And then, of course, the old building would be demolished, and we'd have some site improvements, probably a new parking lot, enhance the playground facility, those kinds of things that would be a part of that. And again, there's a lot of pros and cons both ways. What I will tell you is there's a number I haven't crunched completely yet, but the number that I will crunch will be, okay, over the lifespan of the project, what's the annual projected cost? In other words, when you divide out $7.65 million, if we're going to say it's a 40-year lifespan of the building, then what does that look like per year? What does the renovation look? You're not going to get 40 years out of a renovation. You're probably going to get 20 to 25 years. So the cost per year increases when you look at it that way, right? And then when you look at option 3, which is to reorganize and use our existing facilities, let me just read this option, because this is important. This option includes a renovation of the Mazer Training Center, as it would serve as our North Preschool campus. We do not have adequate space to house the North Preschool in any of our existing buildings in Vernal or Mazer. If we don't use this option, the MTC can be demolished once we are in our new district office building. So there's some implications there. But this would be to split and have a North Preschool and a South Preschool. The South Preschool would be housed probably at Davis Elementary. We do have space there right now. Now, as you know, when we get the boom and bust, we get the boom cycle that comes in. If that happens in the near future, that school could fill up pretty quickly. We also know that we're having a slight increase in real estate action around the Vernal area right now. So when coronavirus is over and we get back to normal attendance, we actually may already be increasing in population. We just don't know it yet. So this option might be a real short-term option, is what I'm saying. We may get into it and then at some point have to build a facility or a new elementary school or something. So it's just it's a consideration. There's a lot of considerations here. Right now, the projected cost to renovate the Mazer Training Center is $2.38 million. So it's not a free option. That building we've put off a lot of work on it, really not knowing, right, over the last several years what we're going to be doing with our master plan of facilities, and this is the final piece here. So if we're going to use that as a North Preschool campus, it's going to have to be renovated. KMA is estimating that cost to be $2.386 million. So we have some work to do if we're going to implement this option. And again, there's some pros and cons, and you can read through those, and we'll go through that in more detail later. The fourth option I'm gonna label this the Band-Aid option. It's kind of where we've been to some extent. I think the difference is that we've Band-Aided that building to the point where if we're going to continue to Band-Aid it, we're going to have to invest some money. So I asked Donnie to go through, and I said, Donnie, if we're gonna be in this building and use it as a preschool for the next 5 years, what are the maintenance items that have to be done within that 5-year period to keep that building operable? So he put together a list, and it's actually included at the bottom of the document. But there are a number of things that have to be addressed, and the total price tag on that list comes out to be $970,000. Now, that doesn't seem so bad, but if that's only, again, going to get us 5 years, cost per year on that is actually higher than new construction would be. So we just got to consider all things. I don't want to see any options. I don't want to see the door closed to anything, because I think as we meet as a committee, and we create a think tank and we go out and we get community input, I think we're going to learn more. We don't know it all yet, is what I'm saying. We're going to learn more. And so I guess the feedback that I'm going to want from the committee, other than just clarifying and tightening up this document, we want to come up with a plan to get community input. And I want it to be bona fide. I want this to be a situation where we listen carefully to what our community wants us to do, and we take those ideas back to the committee then and use that as a think tank to better our options and to come up with something, so eventually that committee can come up with a recommendation to the board. And that I think would be the process I would want to use moving forward. I will say that I don't want to stretch this out too long. I want to get moving on it in January and probably start some community input gathering just as quickly as we can. So any questions about the process I've kind of laid out here? Obviously the committee can change that process, but at least I wanted to present something to get us moving in a positive direction. Any comments?
Just how big do you see that committee being?
Sorry.
Oh, how big do you think that committee would be?
I think I would like to have 2 board members on that committee, and if we choose to, again, change our philosophy, we can certainly have one of those board members chair that committee. And it would have to include Donnie and Jason and I, and we could even bring in some constituents that are not staff. I'd be completely open to that. Typically with the board committees, you don't bring in stakeholders. You can have input meetings, or use people ad hoc, but typically you keep it between the board and the staff at that level. So I'm guessing 5 or 6 on that committee. And in this case, we'd want to bring Tammy in for sure to represent her staff. Yeah, good question. Any other questions?
Superintendent, how long did you figure the lifespan on the renovation? Option 1.
And again, I'm going by experience. We can probably bring our architects into this conversation because they've had a lot more experience. I would say 25 years, because you're renovating an old building, and some of the things that are going to remain in place now, instead of being, I don't know, how old is the building, Robin? You said it was?
It was built in 1941. It's 79 years old.
Wow. So those components that remain, in 25 years, they're going to be a century old, and so you can't plan on those things lasting for another 40 or 50 years like you might new construction. It's a good question.
I think that's very similar to what we see with Uintah Middle School. When we went in and had taken care of the major remodel there, you were dealing with a building that was built in the 50s, so very similar situation.
Right, and now we're already starting to see issues with that building that eventually will have to be addressed that weren't addressed in the remodel, and it hasn't been that long. When was it renovated, do you know?
I do not know off the top of my head what the renovation time.
Okay, about 15
About
years ago?
15 years ago.
So that's a great example. We're probably 10 years away from having to do some other major repairs on that building, if not sooner, so, yeah. Other questions? Okay, we'll move on to the next item under informational items, which is the Coronavirus Relief Act. On your paper, it's 6D in board docs. If you'll go to 4D on board docs, Again, there's just some content there that you may not have seen yet. As you know, with coronavirus, things are changing all the time, and as we've had conversations, it was this afternoon when I summarized many things that have been happening just over the last few days. But I will tell you, so that you're aware, and I think you already understand some of this, but with the CARES Act and the FFCRA, which is the Family First Coronavirus Relief Act, we've actually been mandated by the federal government to provide some relief for employees that become sick, ill, or they have to be quarantined due to coronavirus. Now, there's some qualifiers here for people to access this, but we've already spent, I want to say about $120,000 roughly, Jason, is that right?
Yeah, that's about right.
We've spent that much money
Oh,
already.
140?
It's up, it's higher.
140,000.
Rick, where are we at now? Did you say 140?
Yeah.
Okay, so about 140,000 we have spent to provide paid time off for staff members who have become either ill or had to been quarantined. And that's so they haven't had to dip into their PTO that they've had built up. They haven't had to use the district sick bank necessarily. Now, they still could if they exhaust. So this act is provided up to 10 days, depending on your classification. So if you're on contract full-time, for instance, then you could have up to 80 hours of relief through this program. But the federal government didn't pay for it. We couldn't use CARES Act money to pay for it. We've just had to cover it out of our general fund. So, you know, if this continues, we're talking about $250,000 here that it's going to cost our district this year. It's not a freebie by the federal government. However, right now it's scheduled to expire on December 31st. So the question is, what do we do if it expires? So the federal government no longer requires this to happen. What do we do? And we've had a lot of conversations over the last little bit here. One thing I asked Rick Johnson to do is to contact other school districts around the state to find out what they're doing. And he's in the process of doing that. Talked to a number of districts already. And so far, every district we've talked to is in the same spot we're in. They're really in a holding pattern, waiting to see whether or not the federal government's going to extend this. Okay? We don't know. We wish we would have known by now, but we don't. And so we've already started to brainstorm and talk about what are some ideas, what are some things we could do, what are some options that we could give the board. And I've listed a few of those options, and we haven't had the time really to determine which one of these options would be the best or whether we can even do them. For instance, one of the options is for us to just continue to provide the same kind of relief locally without the federal mandate. But then we were advised by somebody at the State Department that we got to be careful because if we provide a benefit like this for a non-benefited employee, it might set a precedence to where they would become a benefited employee. And obviously, we can't afford to benefit everybody in the system. It would bankrupt us. So some of these options may or may not be feasible. We have Paul Van Komen working on this for our school district to determine, is that even a feasible option? So we're in the thick of this is what I'm saying. So you can look at those options we have listed. Certainly, we're open to any ideas at this point in time. And one of the options for the board is just to allow our current system to work, to have employees use their PTO and the sick leave bank. Now, for some, that may be a real good option, and for others that I will tell you, I empathize a lot with our working mothers. We have a lot of mothers that work, and they just can't build up PTO like many employees can because they've got young kids they have to stay home with when they're sick or get them to the doctor. And so I empathize a lot with that group. And so to do nothing may not be the answer. We may need to step up and do something. I just wanted to make you aware that we have options, and we are working on it, thinking about it a lot. It's a concern of ours. Do we have any questions?
Board members, are there any questions or comments?
Is there any indication, I mean, if it expires on December 31st, are they, any of the, are they getting any
No indication.
indications from the
I wish we
feds?
had it, but we really, there's no indication right now. As you know, the Congress is really, they've been back and forth on the CARES Act, and so we just don't have any indication right now.
Can I just say just a couple of things,
You may,
Superintendent?
please.
This is an interesting discussion, right? Because, well, let me just give one other thing. So with this CARES Act, we are able to get some, it's very small, but some reimbursement for the employer's share of FICA. That's the only benefit. Otherwise, the government really isn't paying for this. We're mandated to. So if we move forward, there's not going to be really much change except for that area. And we've had good, robust discussion on this, and I want the board to understand that we are, and we'll bring this to you as well. But there's one item that I would like to just maybe start a discussion on, or a thought. It's a nuanced thing, right? If it's the flu or something else, there's not necessarily a mandatory quarantine from our health officials, right? That's what makes this a little bit more difficult, because a totally healthy person could be quarantined for a week or more, and they don't necessarily have that PTO. So it's a nuanced conversation, and it's not the same as all of our other illness because of some of these mandatory quarantines, which affect us all, even if we don't get sick. So it really exacerbates a little bit of the problem. So I just wanted to bring that forward as a point to think about as we move forward with this.
I had a conversation with the teacher, and she was concerned about using PTO time. She brought up, I think that they had a group of them that went and got flu shots. And so then they were pretty sure that if they got a fever, it was from the flu shot. But if you have a fever, you're not supposed to go to school, and how that affects the PTO and stuff. So that is a concern that I've heard from the teachers, and something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, that's a good point, Sarah. And, I'm glad Jason brought this up, because this is fundamentally different than anything we've ever experienced. Furthermore, it used to be we encouraged teachers to not take PTO, right? We used to have that incentive, and we had to remove that. But this goes even deeper, because we want teachers, if they're symptomatic at all, we have to err on the side of caution. So they may take a day off now that they normally wouldn't. And, of course, they may be required to quarantine, and that's completely out of their control. If they get a kid in class that exposes them and they have to quarantine, it's kind of hard to say, yeah, now go use your PTO on that. That's tough. Remember, PTO is not just sick leave like it used to be, right? It encompasses sick leave and personal days. And so we're really asking them to give up all of that. And as you know, people have families. We got to make sure that we take care of them. It's important. Dave.
I got a million things running through my mind. First and foremost, until somebody tells us different, this mandate's gonna end the end of December.
That's correct.
What are we going to do as a district between then and how are we gonna react at that point? What are we gonna do? We don't meet as a board again until in January. And we're gonna be kind of left in limbo unless the legislatures change things a little bit. I don't know just what the laws are that this board that we have now couldn't meet again, but we're gonna have a downtime period that's concerning me, along with all the other things that you guys have brought up. We've got to take care of our teachers. We can't bankrupt us in the process. And all these things, but on January 1, when do we go back to school? The 3rd?
Fourth.
Fourth, yeah, Monday the 4th, yeah.
I'm just running, January 4th, we're going to be open for business, and if they don't do something there, that's kind of concern for me where we're gonna land at that time period until more decisions are made. How are we gonna handle that?
Yeah, and you know, this is a tough thing because the reality is sometimes Congress gets right down to the wire before they make a decision, and they make it because they have to. And I have a hard time thinking that we're going to get beyond December 31st without some action of some kind. I would be surprised. However, it can happen. If it happens, one thing we could do is we can make, the board can make whatever we do retroactive to go back to, you know, the December 31st or January 4th and make sure that we take care of people. I would suggest that because for us to meet even a week before, Congress, it's hard to say what they'll do, but they may still, you know, get this thing done before that deadline. And the holidays just I guess make it even all the more tricky.
Yes.
So I don't know. I mean, I just hate for us to have a special board meeting in 2 weeks from now and then have Congress do what they're gonna do, and you know.
They may not even act on that, superintendent, until they go back to work
That's correct.
after
Yes.
January 1.
That's very much could be the case. So we could do it either way. I mean, we could have a special board meeting between now and then, or we can just make a commitment that we'll look at it, and then if the board desires to make, you know, to make it retro, and that it'll take care of those folks in that time.
From prior experience, I am guessing the fact that the power that the education individuals have at the state level, and this isn't something unique to Utah, I think prior to December 31st, there will be information that comes down the pipeline.
Yeah. It's one of those things where we're kind of surprised every week when we don't get an answer, you know? But I think what the teachers want to know is, are we going to be addressing this? That's what the teachers want to know. I've heard from some teachers, and they are concerned about this. You know, it's pretty frustrating right now for some of them. We're asking a lot. I put a big load on our teachers at the high school this past week and a half as we changed some procedures, and I couldn't be, I guess, more grateful for the hard work that they're putting in. But they also, you know, they don't want that idea of not knowing, of just that stress that's caused. Am I gonna have some relief from this thing, or what's gonna happen? So I think that's the main thing, is they just want to know that we are working on this and that we're not gonna leave them high and dry. Okay.
Any other comments, board members?
There's so many things out of their control. I mean, I think of my daughter at college that's been quarantined 3 different times for 14 days each on behaviors or things that other people have done, and it's just, it's so frustrating. I feel for our teachers that are wondering, but I'm glad we're working on it, and we're moving ahead, and we'll have a plan for them. So.
Yeah,
Anyway,
thank
just
you.
a comment.
Well, you know, one of the things that I would like to say to all of our educators is, as a board, we've been united in always wanting to make sure that we address and take care of the needs of our teachers, and that's not going to end. We appreciate who you are, and we recognize that there isn't any part of this year that's been easy for anybody in education.
Okay, with that, unless there's any questions, President Case, I'll turn the time back over to you.
Board members, is there anything else that you would like to discuss in our work session prior to dismissing from our work session? Jason, is there anything you would like to address?
No, I just appreciate the comments.
Superintendent?
I don't think so, not at this point.
Okay.
no.
I guess with that, we'll dismiss, and our work session will start at 6 o'clock.
And we do have, we have some sandwiches, a meal.
Okay.
Just putting batteries in this bad boy and it's already barking.
You're gonna have to change where you get your batteries.
Really. You know, I think it's the month of December. It's the month of batteries.
Hi, little girl. What you doing?
Okay.
What are you guys' thoughts on the new arrangement?
I like it, I like it.
It's a little too far from me to you.
Yeah.
How did your school go
I just
today?
need to speak into the
I
mic.
can tell you right now, the guy sitting on this side has a lot brighter lights than the ones on the side.
You're in the
problem.
limelight here.
Yeah.
Sarah's in the limelight too.
You're gonna look everybody in the eye though.
I kept looking back there.
Tell you though, it makes your skin coloration look nice.
They looking back there to see if there's a glow off my bald head.
Well, if you hang up, then,
Oh, that's funny.
yeah. If you hang up, I'll have to call back. Make it so I won't be on the other phone. Okay, I'll call you back. Put your phone on the other phone.
Yeah.
We'd like to welcome everyone out this evening to the Uintah School District Business Meeting. We appreciate each of you for your attendance, whether you're attending in person or virtually. Thank you for caring about education and caring about the students of the Uintah School District. And with that, we will have Shauna offer us, let me look through my notes here. First, we'll have a reverence by Rick Johnson, and after that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by Shauna.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for this opportunity this evening to be gathered in this beautiful facility and to have the means in which we have to be able to meet here. We're grateful for the members of the school board and their devotion and their dedication to the students of Uintah County. We ask a blessing to be upon them and their families as they serve. We ask a blessing that we will be able to be efficient with our time this evening and to be able to counsel and be of clear mind. We give thanks to Thee for this holiday season and for our Savior Jesus Christ. And this we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that, Superintendent, I'll turn the time over to you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, President. I'd like to welcome everybody here. And just a quick reminder, if you have input, you're welcome to sign up and you can speak to the board. Or if you'd rather not speak, you can use the QR code or the link that's on the bottom of the agenda here to provide input. And we sure would like to hear from you. It's always good to hear from our community members and our public. With that, we'll go ahead and turn the time over to Brooklyn Conley. She's our student board member representative, and I believe she has a report for the board.
Good evening. My name is Brooklyn Conley, and I am the Uintah High School Student Body Liaison. As a student council this year, we have gone to great lengths in an effort to promote school spirit and safety through these troublesome times. One of the numerous ways that we have tried to achieve this goal is that we have made masks with the Uintah High logo available to all students at Uintah High. We have also made various plans for activities to try to get students in the Christmas spirit and to turn their focus outward. This week, we are holding the first annual Uintah High Bake Off, where participating students will have to use creativity and imagination to make something wonderful and breathtaking. On Monday of this week, we started another door decorating competition where students will have to follow the theme of a very COVID Christmas. This month, we will also be doing a food drive, making Christmas cards for residents at the Care Center, an ugly sweater competition, and an Elf on the Shelf scavenger hunt. Our clubs this year have worked very hard to try and adjust doing all of their competitions virtually. To start off, I will talk about FFA. FFA tomorrow has a leadership conference with people from the area, including Duchesne and Roosevelt, that starts at 8:30 a.m. at Western Park. They also have speaking contests coming up next Tuesday in the Uintah High School auditorium at 5:30 p.m. Next, I'm going to talk about Science Club. Science Club has 25 students from Uintah High School participating. Come Friday, they will have competed in 3 tournaments, including one in Indiana, where they are participating in right now, and one in Washington State and one in Florida. Before COVID, they were ranked number 4 in the state, but are now unsure how and where they fit in the rankings. Their state tournament will take place virtually in April. Yesterday, girls basketball went to Wasatch and played against them. JV won, all the other teams lost. Yesterday, boys basketball went out to Union to play against them, and they won by about 20 points. In conclusion, all members of Uintah High School student body are working towards making this year at Uintah High School a great one. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your enthusiasm, Brooklyn, and your leadership. And thank you for providing that report. Board members, do any of you have any questions for Brooklyn?
Brooklyn, thank you for coming with us tonight. We appreciate you being a part of our meeting.
Thank you.
I do love to hear what's going on at the high school from a student's perspective, so thanks for sharing that.
Brooklyn, how's the morale with the students at the high school? Are you guys upbeat, down? Honestly, how do you guys feel?
As a student council, I feel that we are trying to be upbeat because we are the example to the rest of the student body. But overall, I feel like people have been happier because they don't really like the mask, but they are grateful that we can keep in school and are willing to participate in wearing the mask. But overall, they could be happier.
Tell them we're proud of them, would you?
Yeah, of course.
And tell the other board members a little about the new mask, well, not a new mascot, just the one that's
Spirit Bear.
Spirit Bear, and the name, and do you know why?
Yost?
Yeah. Oh, Yost.
Okay, so I do know that the Ute tribe gave us a spirit animal, and it was the bear. I can't remember the exact reason why they gave us the bear. I think it was because, actually, I can't remember. Sorry. But next board meeting, I will come with more information about that.
And how was it named? Do you know that part?
I do not remember
Okay,
that either.
Come next.
I
Give a
will.
little assignment. All right. I put you on the spot.
Any other comments for Brooklyn? Questions? Okay, Brooklyn, thank you. Appreciate you being here. We'll move on to celebrations, item 1E, and we have another video for our Students of the Month this month. What we're going to have to do is put the screen down, and board, I'll ask if we can just come sit in one of these chairs over here. We can watch the video, and then we'll come back to the stand.
Our school student of the month for December is third grader Layla Lamos, and her teacher is Mrs. Johnson. I'm going to have her talk about what makes Layla a great student.
Layla is a fabulous student in third grade. She is a great student to help others and a good example in our classroom. She's always on task and she's always trying to do her very best, and I really appreciate her.
And I know for a fact she's super kind to everybody, even me.
All right, this is Paisley Williams, and she is our Student of the Month for Davis because she is a fabulous student. She's self-motivated, she works really hard. I can always count on her to give it her best. She's a great example for all of her classmates, and I'm so proud of her.
We picked at Discovery Elementary for the month of December, Student of the Month is Albert Filler. Congratulations, Albert. And he's in the 3rd grade dual immersion, and I'll let Mrs. Ward talk about him.
Okay, I'm Mrs. Ward. I'm lucky to be his teacher. I have Albert here. He deserves this award for many reasons. Albert, first of all, he comes to school every day ready to learn. He's a hard worker. He excels at all subjects, Spanish especially, right? Second of all, I can always count on Albert to have his classwork completed on time and in his best efforts. Everything he does his best hard work. I love that. He also is very caring. He has great manners. He's respectful to everybody, teachers, aides, all his peers. He always has a very positive attitude, even in the wake of everything that's going on right now, having to wear masks and everything. He always has a very positive attitude, never complains about it. He always comes to school with a growth mindset, and he's ready to just improve and learn. It's no wonder that his teachers and peers love being around him, and I'm just fortunate to have him in our class.
Thompson. She's an 8th grader at Eagle View Elementary, and she is a great student. All of her teachers, we've all talked about it, and the one thing that we've all mentioned is how hard she works. She doesn't let obstacles get in her way. She's a great role model. She's a positive influence on her peers here at school, and even though education is so different right now, she just keeps working, and she's improved a ton this year. She's quiet, but she's very mighty. We love having her.
To introduce Haley Chikora. She is our LaPointe Elementary Student of the Month. We chose Haley because this is actually her first year with Uintah School District, and so therefore her first year at LaPointe Elementary. And she came to this school with just the most amazing, positive attitude and has never stopped since then. She immediately made lots of friends and is always there to help her friends out whenever they need her. But again, the main reason is Haley, her attitude towards everything she does is just over the top positive. She does not have anything that she doesn't like. Do you not like anything? No. So she is an amazing athlete. She dances 4 nights a week, right, Haley? She traditional dances along with doing jazz, and you like ballet the best because it's the hardest? Yeah. Right. And so she likes to do hard things, and that's a big thing about LaPointe Elementary School is we truly believe we can do hard things, but it takes an amazing positive attitude to be able to do that. So congratulations, Haley. We're so incredibly proud of you, honey, and we're so glad you're at our school this year.
Roscoe McCackney is a 4th grader at Mazer Elementary, and he's been chosen as Student of the Month for Mazer. And he has been chosen as Student of the Month because he is an awesome student. So I created a poem. It's always prepared, A, wisely uses his time, W, excellent at academics, E, He shows good behavior and is a good example. He's optimistic and positive, O. He's motivated to do well, M. And he's enthusiastic about the rec center. So Roscoe has a potential to do great things. I appreciate having the opportunity to be his teacher, and congratulations on being Student of the Month at Mazer.
This is Nico Adelman, and I'm Robert Judd. I'm his teacher, and he is who we nominated for Student of the Month. Nico is a great kid. He has a passion for World War II, that he brought that passion to our classroom this year. He's always trying to learn everything he can, and he has done really well getting his work done and being helpful and really building his relationship with his peers this year. So thank you for being in my class, Nico.
Hey, I'm Mr. Baldwin over here at Uintah Middle School, and I've got our current Student of the Month, Morgan Brown. Now, as I was thinking about who to choose for Student of the Month, I was going over some old emails, and I remember emailing your parents and saying after that first test how great that test was. And so I started asking other teachers too, and this is what Mr. Graham down the hall here had to say about Morgan Brown. Morgan Brown is extremely hardworking, focused, and intelligent, always a pleasure to have in class. So I went next door to Mrs. Hanson. Morgan gives her best effort in anything thrown her way. While confident in her abilities, she is also humble and working with a smile on her face. And of course, when I submitted the recommendation for you to be Student of the Month, I said, your work is always perfect. You are always active in class. You give great, insightful, and thoughtful comments all the time. You are always friendly to everybody. So, Morgan Brown, congratulations on being Student of the Month.
I am Miss Dylan Lace, the principal here at Vernal Middle School, with our Student of the Month. This is Brendan Cook. He's an 8th grader here. We selected Brendan because of his resilience and his perseverance. Brendan has had some unique challenges come up, and he is amazing at tackling those challenges. Our math department actually selected Brendan as our Student of the Month. He has some tremendous math skills. We're excited for Brendan to move on to the high school next year, and we expect amazing and great things from him. Congratulations, Brendan.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Elis. I'm at Uintah High School. I'm a business teacher here. And this is Kennedy Allred. She is the Student of the Month here at the high school. Kennedy is an amazing student. Currently, she has 7 preps at the high school this trimester, which is crazy. She is also our DECA president, and currently right now she is working on 2 DECA state projects. This takes a lot of time, and she is able to handle all this. She's able to manage it, and she just does amazing things as she continues to become better and learn everything she can about business. She has a lot of goals. She's going to go into the medical field, and so she's taken as many business classes and also as many college courses as she can. She's also a great friend to many kids here in the school. She always looks out for everyone, and she's always trying to make everyone happy and uplifting everyone she can when she's around them. I am so proud of Kennedy. She's an amazing student, amazing peer to all her friends here at the school, and I wish all my kids were this great in my classroom.
Congratulations to Kason Buchanan as Ashley Valley Education Center's Student of the Month for December. Kason is in the 2nd grade, and I'm Mrs. Smith. I nominated him for many reasons. Kason works daily in getting his work done in every one of his 2nd grade subjects. This is saying a lot when you realize a 2nd grader needs to have support and determination to keep working at home daily. He has not been absent once. He not only does all the work, but does well, getting top scores. Kaysen did not start out as a top reader, but he has shown great progress. He has gone up 2 levels in his reading app, and he gets progress monitored weekly, and through that we know that he's doubled his reading fluency since the beginning of the year. On and beyond that, on and beyond what he has to do for school, he has been involved in the Reading for All Learners books. He's passed off 3 sets so far. That's about 27 books for each set. And he's on the 4th. I believe it is, his mother said, I believe it is helping Kaysen not only with speed, but accuracy. Even if it isn't challenging him with sounding out harder words, what an accomplishment. This is not all. In addition to his online school, he goes once a week to Naples Elementary to work with Mrs. Harrison, who said this about Kaysen. Kaysen is pleasant to work with. He has a good attitude and works hard. He always completes his work in a timely manner. I am happy with the progress he has made this year. Way to go, Kaysen. Another secret to Kaysen's success is this boy has a champion in his mom. There is a educator named Rita Pearson that said in a TED Talk, every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. And with his mother as his champion, he is one lucky boy because he has excelled. I am proud to present him for his persistence, his hard work, and his going above and beyond that which is required. As part of his team, I just want to say congratulations, Kaysen.
I'd like to congratulate all of our students of the month, and also, again, thank Jeff Lysick and our teachers and principals that helped put that video together. I think we all hope soon that we can get back to having our students of the month come to our board meetings to be here in person. But this sure has been nice to be able to at least see them on video and to celebrate them. So thank you. And with that, President Case, we have patron input.
Okay, if you'll just announce who it...
Nobody. We have 0.
Okay, no patron input. Okay. So with that, we will go to our business items. To start off with, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, if they'd indicate with aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. The next item that we have is personnel changes. I will entertain a motion to approve the personnel changes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the personnel changes.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. With that, we'll invite Rick Johnson to come up. If you have any questions, remember we do not refer to them by name but by number.
Thanks, President Case. Just want to draw your attention to the memo in there that there's Superintendent Woodford's requesting the approval of the hires for 8 new hire positions in the support staff. 2 employees that their positions are just increasing in hours and they're changing some of their duties, and then 3 people whose positions will end at the date that's indicated in your packet.
Board members, do you have any questions about any of the personnel changes? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving the personnel changes, if they'd indicate with aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. With that, Superintendent, we'll turn the time back over to you.
Thank you, President Case. We do have a few calendar items. If you'll look on board docs, there's a document there. There isn't a lot, but we have a minimum school day scheduled on Tuesday, December 22nd. We have Christmas break from Wednesday, December 23rd through Friday, January 1st. And of course, Martin Luther King Day, there will be no school on Monday, January 18th. And if you'll look there, I also made a note that we really need to consider, if the board would like, to schedule a work training session in January. And again, the purpose of the meeting would be to kick off a conversation about leadership governance and board member roles. This would also provide an opportunity for our new board members to share their thoughts, ideas, and priorities with the board. And so I don't know if we want to schedule that right now, or if you want me to just facilitate that over the coming week or so with the board members. Any thoughts?
Board, what thoughts do you have with that?
Does any of the board members have dates that are absolutely out so that we could all be there?
January.
I will be gone on January 15th through the 23rd. 15th through the 23rd? Why don't we look at that one, after the 23rd then, later in the month, if that works for you guys. And I can send out a little survey to get us all scheduled with that, if that works the best.
At least we'll know what direction you're going. 'Cause you might have something come up too that needs to be taken care of.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, Superintendent, sometime between the 26th and 29th?
Yeah, after the regular board meeting, and sometime between the 23rd and the end of the month.
Board members, are you comfortable with Superintendent working within that framework?
I am.
Yes.
Okay, I'll
Probably
contact
just
you.
not a Friday.
What's that?
Probably not a Friday.
Yeah, we'll stay away from the basketball schedule too. I know you got a kid that plays, and I do, so we'll work it in. Okay. All right. So with that, that's all I have for calendar. I'd like to turn the time over to Robin. She's got something special to present.
Something special. Well, okay. So, this being the last official board meeting for Kurt and Sarah, Dave, Scoot, and I got you guys something, and I'm sure, I don't know, Dave and Scoot, before I do that, do you guys want to say anything? And
I would just like to say that how much I've appreciated working with these two people, and I've enjoyed it very much, and I wish them the very best.
Dave?
I'd like to say that as a board, we've disagreed, sometimes strongly, but I feel like that we've kept our working relationship open, and I appreciate these guys for that. With a board comes lots of unique personalities and ideas and thoughts. And so, you know, as we disagreed, we went forward as a board and tried to do what we do the best job that we could for the students and our faculty, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys and wish you and your families well.
And I'd just like to add to both my fellow board members' sentiments and just let Sarah know I appreciated, and Kurt, but I'll address each of you separately. But Sarah, thank you for your voice and what you taught me with listening to patrons and parents, and your involvement in community councils. And I learned a lot from you. I've really enjoyed working with you on this board. And Kurt, I've been privileged to see a little bit behind the scenes and how much time it takes for your position in leadership. And I really appreciated your breadth and depth of knowledge of our community, and I've learned so much. And I really admire how much you care about students, and that's always part of your decision-making process. So I have really enjoyed this. It's been an amazing kind of journey that we've been on, and I know we're, you know, not the most experienced board in the state, but I think we've got a lot of things accomplished, the 5 of us, and really just appreciated all that your patience with new board members and just working alongside you. So thank you. And we together, we got you. This is from FFA. FFA for the high school. Yeah. That's beautiful. FFA is amazing. Just a token of thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for doing that, Robin. The district has a tradition when board members are outgoing. We have a special little crystal that the district provides the board members, and so I want to make sure we provide these to Sarah and Kurt as well. I think what this represents is just the amazing amount of energy and time, stress, mental energy that goes into being a board member. I don't think many people in the public really understand and realize there's times when it's just on your mind always, and it's a huge responsibility to look after and make sure that our kids are well taken care of, and responding to staff and faculty concerns that arise, preparation for board meetings, work sessions, retreats. All of those things are taxing on time. It takes time away from family. I can't say enough. I've been so impressed with this board. Yes, there's been some tough decisions, and sometimes the board doesn't always agree, but I will tell you that since I've had the privilege of being the superintendent here, what I have seen is this board come together, and once they decide and vote as a board, they get behind it, they support it. And I think the thing that I've been most impressed with is just their support. A passion for students, no doubt, but also a wonderful support for our staff. I just can't say enough. I've enjoyed working with this entire board. I'm going to miss Sarah and Kurt a lot. I appreciate everything that they've done. Thank you. Please know that you may not be an elected official after this month, but what you think still matters a great deal. And I know that both of you will continue to advocate for education in our community. Please don't be strangers. Feel free to call anytime. Come around. Let's continue to to have a partnership. So thank you. So with that, President Case, I'll turn the time back over to you.
Okay. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the board for the opportunity of working with them. I would like to take the opportunity to thank the educators of the Uintah School District for who you are and what you stand for. And I felt it an honor to serve the 7,000 students of our district. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Sarah for her service. As I have looked at the research and looked at history of Uintah School District, Sarah, I'm not sure there's been a more difficult 4-year period of time to have ever served with 2 different boards. And I want you to know that as you served in that capacity, you were always consistent, you were always precise, you had students' needs first, educators' needs, and at the same time you made sure that you took care of the community that you're a part of and that you care so much about. I appreciate who you are. I've learned a lot from working with you, and thank you for the service that you have rendered to the Uintah School District.
It has been a privilege to represent our community as an elected official. I have learned a lot about myself in being in the public eye, and have appreciated the growth that it has given to me. I'm grateful for the friends that I will have forever, and I'm just grateful to have been an advocate for kids. It is truly an honor. Kurt, I wanted to definitely celebrate you tonight as the board member who served the 4 years. And I agree, as you look back at what we've been able to accomplish and overcome in our service in the 4 years together on 2 different boards and lots of changes within the district. I celebrate you for being part of that. And I remember 2 years ago when we said, Kurt, please be the president of the school board. And that was something that maybe Kurt didn't feel up to the task. And I saw him just take courage and know that it was a good time to lead. And that to me just shows so much integrity about where your heart is and what's important. And I celebrate you for the leadership that you've given and the straight way that you help to guide the discussions, and again for the person that you are and for the friend that you are to me. And I am grateful again for the friendships that I have. This has been just as much for me as it has for my service to the students. And so I appreciate being able to be a part of it. And I thank each one of you for your positive influence in my life.
Thank you, Sarah. With no other items on our agenda, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Meeting adjourned.